10 things that he says, which is really smart. He says one thing that's like explicitly Marxist.
Who?
Tucker. He hates robots.
What?
Tucker hates robots.
Oh, I thought you said sex bots.
He hates those too.
That's wrong.
I better not say my feelings about sex bots.
They need to hurry up and perfect that.
Hey, if I could get into a franchise where you can get those things right next to the red box outside of CVS, I would be putting money in.
Why isn't the stream working?
I'm already doing something very similar and putting money in.
Huh. Yeah. You're a man of the future, Ben. Man of the future.
That's wrong.
Shouldn't be dead. But...
Well, they can make the sex bots with a little slot right here where you just put in your money.
Okay, and everybody, we are on YouTube Live for the record. I want to welcome everybody to the world, according to Ben Stein. And for the record, people ask me, because we've been getting a ton of downloads on the podcast, if I purposely don't edit the first couple, and I was telling Gary, I probably told Remzo, I sort of love the feeling of when the podcast opens, that you never know what we're talking about. We're talking about what regular people talk about in their regular lives. And on that note, I want to welcome everybody that's in the YouTube chat to the world according to Benjamin Jeremy Stein. We thank you very humbly much for listening and downloading the shows.
Very humbly indeed. Very humbly indeed.
The response has been insanely amazing, and we thank you and we encourage you to keep doing it. But Remzo will tell you more about that. And of course, joining us is a man that he's teaching people how to live off the grid, even though living off the grid causes delays in his receptions on Saturday nights. And that's at simplelifenow.com. Gary Collins, welcome back, Gary.
That's me streaming YouPorn in the corner at the same time.
It's research for the sex bots.
Yeah. What I do is I freeze my frame. I only need a couple seconds. That's it.
Okay.
Freeze my frame, and then I.
Just for the record, you did share with me that you live in a certain type of right now in a certain type of park where everybody on Saturday nights is streaming at the same time.
Big time. Yeah, they're doing what I'm doing, getting, drinking a few beers and streaming stuff I probably should not have cached in my history, but hey. What are you gonna do?
We're just giving YouTube tons of reasons not to cancel us. And of course, let's welcome, as always, podcaster extraordinaire, author, and some people might not know this, but he has a side punk band in Virginia called Men with Cats. And Remzo Martinez, welcome back as always, Remzo. How you feeling?
I am feeling way, way better. Great to be with you all night.
And of course, economist, former shoe salesman, husband, lover, sinner, saint. I'm sure you were great at that job, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. But America's humble servant, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
My honor.
And again, thank you everybody in the YouTube channel. But I really do want to get straight to it. Yesterday, Ben, you've implored and you've told us, and I think that's what one of the great things about you is people could come to you for sanity in times of trouble. You're like
Thank you.
But it's true, and you are that rock. But one of the things you've been preaching a lot about is, take it to the courts, take it to the courts. You'll find one judge. You'll find one judge. Well, yesterday, we couldn't find two judges, okay? We couldn't find the one judge that Trump went to the mats for after we know he was maliciously, slandered and all that garbage of Kavanaugh. You think Kavanaugh would have had it in him to stand up for not just Trump with his tax stuff, but also for the American people?
I know it was a great disappointment. I can only tell you, I am a lawyer. I went to a very, very good law school. I had very, very smart teachers. And my brother-in-law is a very, very smart lawyer, and he went to a very good law school, and he had smart teachers too. And what we have learned is that judges are human, and they can be swayed by the mob. And I think in this case, they have been swayed by the mob, and they're genuinely scared. I think they're scared of mainly getting the Supreme Court into the political thicket such that the Supreme Court gets to be abolished by the Democrats, or essentially abolished. I think the Democrats have it in for the Constitution so heavily at this point that even something in the Constitution in black and white is in danger with today's Democrats running the show. So they want to stay out of trouble.
But you bring up a point though, Ben, and it's I got an email today and I'm sick. I'm unsubscribing from the RNC. I'm really sick and tired of seeing their crap. And and really what bothers me more than anything, Ben, as you're cutting your blintz, is Ben, is that the Republican National Committee, the Republicans, I don't think they care. I don't think they care,
but they're scared too. Everybody's scared. I mean,
Ben, I think I don't.
People are scared. People are really, really scared. People are really, really frightened of what is going to happen when we have a totalitarian Democrat leadership, which we are starting to see right now. And I think we're just seeing the early stages of it. It's a scary situation. This country worked very well when we had reasonable people who are God-fearing people. Now that we have Bolsheviks, I don't know that even the Constitution can stand in their way. The Constitution works as long as the courts work it. If they stop working it, it doesn't work.
Gary Collins.
Well, I don't know if they're kowtowing to the mob or being paid by the mob. I've always felt that the Supreme Court certain people seem to be on the fringe element sometimes. I don't know. I can't prove any of this. But just my time in the government, I felt the Supreme Court had been compromised a long time ago. But with that, I have an attitude today. If you're not going to follow the Constitution that you are sworn to uphold as a government employee, well, I guess what? I don't have to follow what you put down then.
Oh, yes, but they have the guns. They have the guns. They have the force, and they have the jails and prisons.
I know a lot of people. And I just don't, and I don't mean to do that's, I don't want to take it to that extreme. I'm not talking getting violent, but it's like COVID, the COVID thing. If you're going to tell me that I can no longer go to a restaurant, I have to wear 15 masks, I have to get a vaccine. And if I don't get the vaccine, I'm going to be blackballed from everything. I can't fly, can't travel. And then on top of it, I'm going to have to wear a mask anyway after I get vaccinated. Oh, and by the way, we're going to shut down things again. I'm out. I don't have to follow any of your BS anymore.
Wait a minute. What does that mean? You're out. What if the police come to your house and arrest you like they did to that family in Canada? The police came to people's house who were having a party, not making noise, not doing anything disruptive. They just came and hauled off the host and hostess just for having a party. What if the police do that in America?
They can't arrest us all, is the way I look at it.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
And Ben, he's actually raised a great point. I was thinking about that today. As tax season's coming up, what if 75 million people said, you know what, we'll pay our taxes in October, and you know what, when we pay our taxes in October, we're not going to pay the full amount. We'll put ourselves on a monthly plan.
They don't care about that, sir. They don't care about that. They can have the Federal Reserve print as much money as they want.
So Ben, to Gary's point, I think they are putting their foot on 75 million people's throats right now. And like Gary is saying, when people that supported Trump see what the Supreme Court did yesterday, it gives them and Clarence Thomas wrote it perfectly. And you are disengage, you're turning off so many people purposely, obviously, is what they're doing. and it's frightening. And I don't know what happens next. I pray the Capitol Hill thing was just a fluke. But if you choke people to where they can no longer breathe, and you do that to people with guns, I don't know where those people go next.
There's not going to be a violent uprising in this country, but I will tell you, there was an image on my computer screen yesterday of barbed wire in front of the Supreme Court. That was really, really scary, way scarier than any other image I've seen. And if that's the future of America, I'm glad I live far from the Supreme Court, and I live a very quiet life. Aside from
well, you have a place near the Supreme Court, and Remzo.
Yeah, the longer I've lived in DC, the more I've realized I'm not as mad about the politicians and the bureaucrats. I'm mad at the voters and the taxpayers. Because what we saw in the House and the Senate was almost a 95% incumbent return rate. What we're going to see in the midterms is a return of minority control from the Republicans to the majority in the House. And then it'll be a toss up in the Senate during the next presidential cycle. It happens all the time. And people say, no, I've never seen a time like this in my life. I've seen two newspaper headlines from the election of 1800 where Jefferson says that John Adams has illicit sexual affairs with his mother, and that Adams is saying that Thomas Jefferson will go ahead and bring the dead back to wreak havoc amongst the earth. It's always been this way, and truly, I mean, if you look at what's going on with the Supreme Court, I mean, they're just politicians like everyone else. The number one
That's a
rule
very good point, Remzo. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the number one rule in DC is if you want a friend, get a dog, because everyone else is looking out for themselves.
Although I will say, if I may,
Or
respectfully,
cat.
I lived in Washington for a long, long time. I still have a home there. I'm not going to say where, but it's a nice home. And I had many friends when I was there, and we took a lot of drugs together, and we're really happy.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. But what Remzo actually brings up a great point is who we are appointing to the Supreme Court. We have this mold of people that we put in there, and it's not exactly turning out to be a great mold. We have this Federalist Society. With Trump, right? It's like really funny. Oftentimes people say he hired the wrong people, right? But on the other hand, when he listened to people, he hired the wrong people. It's like once you get to Washington, you almost become the wrong people.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
It's a very frightening thing, Ben.
Very
You being extremely bright. We oftentimes, and I love Nixon's statement of most people in the House aren't fit to be dog catchers. We overvalue.
Worse than that, he said most Republicans in the House.
And we often overvalue and overestimate these people that we're electing to the Supreme Court, thinking because they're lawyers, because they went to law school like you did, Ben, that they're somehow brighter. They're somehow, I got to be honest, I don't see it, Ben. I just don't see it sometimes.
But they are people, my friend. They're people. They're scared of the mob. They're scared of the mob's, the polite society's opinion of them. I take you back not that long before I was born to the Depression, and the Supreme Court was just knocking down one after another of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's proposals, just knocking them down like bowling pins, like 9 pins. And then Roosevelt came out with his proposal to pack the court. And that really scared the hell out of the court. And after that, they didn't declare anything unconstitutional. A few things they did, but very, very few. You can scare the court. They are people, and they can be scared. And a guy, you think of a guy up there on the Supreme Court. He's not rich. He's not very well paid, and he lives in fairly modest circumstances. Generally, not always. And why should he run afoul of a political opinion when he can just keep his nose clean and stay away from all the controversy?
So you've basically said we have nothing else to go to. We can't go to the courts.
Well, wait a second. Didn't Ramsey just say we were going to have a Republican administration and a Republican Congress?
I predict that we're going to get a Republican Congress in 2022, just because people are cyclical. We're back to what normal is since Orange Man Bad is out, since Trump is gone. So now people want to go ahead and go to the part where they're, doomsday saying. Right now, if I go to Barnes & Noble over the next year, I'm going to be seeing books about stolen elections and what Trump did right. It's going to be nothing but Republican authors. And we're going to get 1,000 pundits writing articles and getting shows talking about what Republicans should do, even though a lot of those people have never had jobs in their lives. And then what the RNC is going to do is say that we're one step towards World War III unless you donate $10 today. So this is what they love. I know many people right now who are fundraisers and copywriters for the RNC and for many Republican candidates, and this is the best time in their career. They love it when they're on the losing side because they make more money.
Ramsey. That's brilliant. That is really brilliant. God bless you.
I just do want to raise a point to what you said, because Ramzo, I would agree with you on any other time, but the fact that the Supreme Court wouldn't hear about election fraud and all of this stuff scares me, Gary, about the next election.
Here's why, and this is just basic politics. Both sides are in the swamp. So why would they rule on election fraud? Because both of them want to rig elections. It's not one-sided. Both sides play the game. Now,
with all due respect,
this one was
the left cheats a lot better.
I agree. They're really good at it, but
really
both sides
cheat. And they control Washington society
to a point. Yeah, for sure. But I would think that's the problem is like me and Ben were talking about last time on Saturday. We're never going to fix this. It's a mess. But what do you do? What do you do?
My sister, a very, very intelligent woman, although a Democrat, a super intelligent woman, said a long time ago, your basic human is not such a hot item. And boy, is that ever true. And does that explain a lot?
Yeah. What's the biggest threat to humanity? Humans. That's, the way it works.
But I look at all the fun we have.
Yes, we are, but and that's a survival technique. But for people that don't have this luxury and joy of being able to talk to people they know, the world could be a really frightening place right now. And there are a lot of Trump supporters or Republican supporters that listen to us, that are isolated, that are alone, that don't have these connections that we do. That I could call Gary and talk about Rush. That I could call Remzo and talk about cats, and I could call you, Ben, and they don't have that, and it's really frightening. But I will remind everybody, if they don't fix this election fraud and they don't think about it, 2022, it's going to be the same thing over again. And on that note, if you just tuned in, sorry, Remzo.
No, I was going to say the only person who screamed stolen election was Trump because he lost. All the other Republicans picked up seats. They picked up seats in the House. So it's like everyone downward from him did fine. That's why the Republicans didn't say anything to defend him.
I don't think they picked up seats in the Senate.
Yeah, Remzo, they didn't pick up seats in the Senate.
They picked up seats in the House. They lost seats because everyone in Georgia, Remzo, all those Republicans, Perdue and Loeffler were criminals.
Remzo,
They were going to lose.
Oh, compared to Warnock?
Criminals. It doesn't. Oh, are we playing?
Who's an anti-Semitic?
Criminal is a criminal. Criminal is a criminal.
And on that note,
Warnock is a Nazi. I mean, in my opinion, Warnock is a Nazi.
I'll take the garden variety. That's where our politics is at, though. You're not picking sides. You're picking the least worst criminal.
I agree with Ben. Ben, you don't have to think he's a Nazi. And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein, and we are having a lively discussion. And on that note, Remzo is feeling a little better. Can you give us a promo, Remzo?
Yes, please go ahead and hit the bell icon above so you get notifications whenever The World According to Ben Stein goes live. And please, you can go ahead and catch the show the day after we air every Wednesday and Friday on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Audible. Wherever you download podcasts through Al Gore's amazing internet, please leave an honest review and a 5-star rating. And if you need more Ben in your inbox, please go ahead and subscribe today to benstein.substack.com. That's benstein.substack.com. And if
also subscribe to the American Spectator.
Also them too. And if you want to go ahead and hang out with Ben online and everything else, you find them on Parler, on MeWe, and on Facebook at Ben Stein.
And if you go back to your local library, you'll find many books by me too.
There you go.
There you go. And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. And Ashton America, I wasn't saying everybody that listens to the show doesn't have somebody to talk to, but I meant right now, these are isolating times for a lot of people. They're isolating times if you're in the media, if you work for look at what they're trying to do right now to Fox News, Ben, to OAN, to Newsmax, and cut the cord on them. You don't think people are scared to come back to Parler right now? People are terrified to come back to Parler because of what they're scared they think it might represent, Ben. I mean, these are frightening times, Ben, that the thought of cutting the cord on these networks is one of the most chilling and frightening things.
There are frightening things going on. But one, I got my COVID booster yesterday morning, and I really felt awful since, just awful. So that's bad too. Second, don't say I'm going to have it forever, because I won't. I have a fantastic house in Beverly Hills. It has a big heated swimming pool. I can swim in it every day if I want to. I have an incredibly wonderful wifey, a goddess, a living, breathing saint, an actual saint sent down by God from heaven. I have an incredibly beautiful girl who works for me, who spent time with me this afternoon. Incredibly beautiful, full of jokes and witticisms. I'm a happy guy. I just am scared to say anything against the ruling party, and that's a big thing.
You think?
Yes.
You're the one that's scared to get pulled over by the police right now.
I'm scared to even see a policeman in Beverly Hills. I mean, it used to be in Beverly Hills that if you drove down the street in a really nice car and were a celebrity, they wouldn't give you any trouble. Now they might give you trouble for being a Republican.
And to the people that are listening, I get it. I'm disappointed at Fox News too, but I haven't turned them on since election night. But I also don't think they should be cutting the cord on Fox News.
Oh,
and
Ben and I love Fox News.
And Ben and I spoke about this the other night. You know, just because I disagree with somebody, I'm not going to cancel them, Gary Collins. I mean, we could disagree and not cancel. This concept of if we don't like, we cancel. You could just simply turn off.
Well, yeah. Most people should be coming here anyway, right?
Yes, I'm right here.
Where they can all go.
The world
Right
according
here.
to Ben Stein.
Friends are right here. Got
one more.
Exactly.
There's always room for millions more. Millions more. We want you with us. We want you with us.
But keep going.
It's important today too to realize that if you don't like where you're at, you don't like the people you're surrounded with, leave. Honestly, I've done it. I've done it several times.
Right.
You know, if you're in an area that people are flying, certain flags or driving certain cars and yelling at you because you don't have 15 masks on, go somewhere else. That's what I do. I live in places.
Give them the finger and drive on.
Well, I do that too. Don't get me wrong. I do both. But I think if you find a place where you fit in at, you're not a racist, you're not a homophobe or anything. You're just going where you're happy. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I've done with my life. If I feel that I'm in a place that I don't like, I leave. And people go, well, you don't have kids, your job, you're this. And I go, yeah, you know what? I got holes in my underwear too. We can make a million excuses. The bottom line is if you're not happy, change it. That's it.
Ramsey, why are you so quiet? I'm worried.
Oh, I'm just taking it all in. I'm thinking of the doomsday to come and all the other opportunities. This is one of the reasons why I really instinctively hate social media. And, it's a symbiotic relationship because I need it to promote my show. I need it to promote my business. I need it to promote all my other projects and stuff, my books. So I can't leave it. But to a certain degree, what I've tried to do is I've really tried to clamp down on my time. And on my iPhone, I have a app that shows me how much time I spent on social media every week. And I'm trying to get it down to less than an hour. If I can spend less than an hour a week, I'm going to do fine. I even
Don't you want to see people's grandchildren?
Huh?
Don't you want to see people's grandchildren?
No, not really.
I'm kidding.
I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, I would rather somebody text me or call me or send me an email. What social media has done is it's turned everybody into the worst versions of themselves. And when I go on there, I'm not happy. When I go on there, I'm not really seeing anything productive. And the one thing that I really hate is getting bogged down with poisonous people. And even people that aren't necessarily ill intent, it's just people that do nothing but complain and complain and complain. And they're sucking time from my life. And I don't have that much time to give to people that are just going to make it worse. So, I mean, I've got people who have thousands of dollars in debt. They've got health problems. They don't like their job. They don't like where they're living. But they keep telling me about Dominion servers, and they keep telling me about Kamala, praise be, and Joe Biden, who has dementia and everything else. And I'm just looking at them, and I'm like, what are you really going to do? You can't make any impact in the world unless you make a real impact in your life. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. I might be more isolated and bitter now than I've ever been in my life, but I've never been more clear and focused.
And I've got people I know who've got people they know, so I suggest you stay low.
And it sounds like Remzo, perfectly sung, Ben, and it sounds like you've been listening to Gary's books and reading his material, How to Have Inner Peace. But I got to tell you, you were very helpful to me today because I wanted to respond to some stuff, Remzo, Gary, and Ben had to tell me, don't do it. It's not, it's not important. And I got to be honest with you, Remzo, I greatly appreciate it. It's greatly appreciated because I listened to you. I'm not thinking now, should I have done it or shouldn't I have done it? I'm totally.
Your time matters too much, Judah.
Yeah.
It matters too much.
I'm totally at peace, and I greatly appreciate that help from you, Remzo. And before the show, if some of us heard us, what we were talking about, what we were joking about, was sort of.
No, I'm all serious about the sex bots.
Me too. I mean,
and so is Ben. But what we were talking about is you know, and Ben posted about the dereliction of duty with from this administration. And almost, Ben Stein, appears that there is no administration.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what's going on. To me, and I'm sure this has occurred to everyone watching the show and everyone in the world, where the heck was the president? Where the heck was the vice president when they had that catastrophe in Texas? Where were they?
No show.
Where
Absolutely.
were they? I mean, that was big stuff. Even Mr. Bush managed to go to Louisiana when they had the flood and the bad weather there. All presidents go to places where there are catastrophes. These guys couldn't go. I understand. I perfectly understand Mr. Biden is not well enough to travel. I understand that perfectly well. But Mrs. Harris, she's a big, strong woman. Why can't she go? Why couldn't she go?
Those aren't her people. She's not.
I know, but they are Americans. And there you are putting your finger on a very big problem. If Americans to her are only people who voted for her, or people of color, or transgender, or fluid gender people, then we are really, really in a lot of trouble.
well, I mean, as you can see, all their nominees, and you've brought this up, Ben, are being nominated not because of their talent, but because of their skin, skin color, because of
gender fluidity, all that crap. Yes, that's a disgraceful situation. South Africa, before apartheid was knocked down, was a racialist society. Everything was done on the basis of race. That's what we're becoming. Everything's done on the basis of race. Very bad situation. Very, 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 very bad. And yet the media loves it. They eat it up. They love it. For weeks, months before the election, every day's newspaper front page was some story damning America to hell, damning Trump to hell. Every story now is about how great things are, and they're going to get greater. It's incredible. The Politburo has ruled, and the Politburo does not even have to be connected to each other. They just think the same way because they're plugged in to the same zeitgeist.
Well, it's amazing that you bring that up, and I get to bring this up about Gary Remzo. Is the Washington Post on Saturday wrote a piece about Biden being silent on Texas, calling it presidential.
Yeah, stunning, absolutely stunning.
I mean,
I've been loving the Biden stories. We get to learn that he likes to go to bed at 8:30, and he likes to turn on the Oval Office fireplace, that he likes to play as Luigi when he plays Mario Kart at Camp David. I mean, the presidency sounds like you don't even have to do anything.
Wait, what's a Luigi?
So you know who Mario is?
No.
It's a video game, Ben.
Oh,
Mario Brothers.
Mario Brothers? Super Smash Brothers?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Luigi's the one that no one likes. He's the awkward brother.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they're writing these softball stories, and it's like, this is it. It looks like he doesn't actually have to work. It's like we're just funding welfare for an old man to live in a giant house by himself.
It's not
even know if
big
his
a house.
family is
Actually,
there.
it's not that big a house.
Honest to God, I don't even believe he lives in the White House right now. I don't even know where Joe Biden is. When we were joking before the show, it just might be a hologram of him speaking words, and it's not actual brain freeze. It's the hologram pausing, Gary. You know, I mean, they have your reception over there.
Well, the coverage of the president, you would think he was a 5-year-old in a bunny rabbit pajamas with footsies. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, we're at a point where we are. I think that's the scary part for a lot of people, is how fast things are happening, how fast things are escalating, how fast our rights are being taken away, how fast we're being bullied. And that's why I said in the beginning, you know, that we have to start standing up and showing some backbone. And like I said, It doesn't mean violence. It just means saying enough is enough. You know,
enough is enough. And I have to say again, I am scared when I pick up my cell phone and start saying bad stuff about the administration. I am scared that it's going to land me in real trouble. And the fact that I have to be scared about freedom of speech is just horrifying.
Well,
Horrifying.
I say Biden sucks 2,500 times a day directly into my phone just to see what will happen. So if they take me away, we'll know they're listening.
Yeah,
So
you're listening.
No,
well,
but
that's
you
where
guys
we are.
raise a-
Though. They want us to live in fear, and that's
Right.
the problem. And a lot of people worry about that because of what I used to do. They'll ask me, they go, "So what is NSA listening to all your stuff?" I go, "They're listening to all of our stuff. It ain't just me." And you can either live in fear of that, or you can say, you know what, like Ben, you're saying, what happens if they come to my door and arrest me and take me away? Well, that's fine. You know why? Because I refuse to cow down and be beaten. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But I'm not going to live in fear my entire life. My attitude is living in fear for the remainder of my life is worse than being out and beaten by the Gestapo and dying in a cell. At least I'll die to my convictions. That's the way I look at it.
That's great. That's fabulous. I don't think you're going to like it so much when they start beating you. But the whole thing is, you guys are so young, you do not remember the civil rights movement. But I'm old, and I remember being in the civil rights movement and being in segregationist towns and having the police hit me with clubs, not giant clubs like from a caveman era, but billy clubs. And I didn't like it. And I remember demonstrating against the war in Vietnam and being gassed with tear gas, not with, thank God, it was Zyklon B. I didn't like it. But we are approaching that situation in America now, not for protesting any specific policy, but just for not kissing the ass of the liberal establishment.
And you all raise great points, and I want to get back to this after this. But if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. I want to thank everybody that's participating in the YouTube chat and will be listening after. We know you have a lot of other things to look at and do, and we greatly appreciate it. Remzo, if you could please tell people where they could find us. And yeah.
Big favor to ask. Big favor to ask. Please go to Apple Podcasts. It's the free app at the App Store. Go to The World According to Ben Stein and leave an honest review and 5-star rating and subscribe. This helps us get the message across to tons of new listeners. Let people know the fun we're having over here, and it helps the show grow. So please leave The World According to Ben Stein an honest review and 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
And if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. Remzo, I think maybe it's on my end, but your audio sounds a little goofy. But I want to, and to people's questions, we actually are doing something, all of us, by doing this. We're showing them that we're not scared to talk about this stuff, because their biggest thing is for us, Ben Stein and Gary Daniels.
Wait a
Gary
second,
Collins.
Remzo just got taken away.
No, Remzo's back. Remzo's back. He was rebooting his audio. But their greatest thing is for us to not have these conversations. So screw them. We're going to continue to have these conversations. And on that note, I want to just bring up something funny that we're all so scared. The other day, I accidentally Gary and I are both huge Rush fans, and the band Rush, and I Rush Limbaugh, but we're bigger Rush fans of the band. And we were talking. I texted the wrong person. Did you see all the black reactions to Rush? And now Gary would understand what I meant by that. There's this on YouTube, it's black people listening to Rush, the band, for the first time, and watching their reactions, which is pretty funny. And afterwards I was like, oh, thank God I didn't send that to the wrong person. And then I realized, Ben Stein, you know what? Who cares? We're going to send the wrong text. We're going to say the wrong things. We're going to say stupidity. We shouldn't be imprisoned or censored or canceled because of the stupidity.
But that's what America has come to. And the sad thing is, people that I know who are ardent Democrats and leftists think it's great. They think that's freedom. They think Trump was a tyrant. I cannot think of any tyrannical thing that Trump did at all. Whereas free speech is now gone in America. It's incredible. And this Capitol riot thing, yes, they should not have been there. Yes, the Capitol Police did a terrible job. Yes, these guys were fools for going in there. But to use this as an excuse to try to preempt the entire national agenda and turn it into a story about a rebellion as if we're a new war between the states, that is a sign that they're looking to clamp down on us. This, for them, the so-called riot in the Capitol is what Hitler did with the Reichstag fire. It's exactly what they're doing. Exactly.
Gary?
Well, we were talking about this last time, Ben. I guess someone did the analysis on all the people arrested during the Capitol riots, and what happened is they only found 2 people in the arrest records that had weapons, and they couldn't prove that those people ever entered the Capitol. and I think
We've talked about this over and over again. There's no sign of any of these people being armed. It's incredible.
They also debunked the theory today, finally, the hoax that the guy was beaten over the head with a fire extinguisher by a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
It took how long for that story that could have been proven in a day to come to be a reality?
And
but
we all don't. None of us in this little group wants people breaking into the Capitol. None of us wants there to be any chaos in there. There's enough chaos in there already. But to make it into a cause to clamp down on the whole country and to have congressional hearings about it as if it were the same as 9/11, that's clearly a run up to tyranny.
Well, Ben, do you know that most Americans have no clue that the White House is basically a compound protected by the military? Most Americans have no clue. No clue.
Well, with respect, Gary, my dear friend, I worked at the White House for some time, and I don't remember us being protected by the military. We were protected by an entity called the Executive Protective Service. And now this is a long time ago, so it might have changed, but Executive Protective Service, and it is indeed a compound. You bet it's a compound, but it's.
Oh, no, I mean now with the National Guard. With all the National Guard, they haven't let them go. No, I mean they have barbed wire, they have Constantine. You can't even find it.
Absolutely terrifying.
Most Americans have no idea that's going on.
Oh, I've lived here. I've lived here since. Yeah, I mean, I've lived here since 2008, and they kept up all the changes that they made post 9/11. And now you go through D.C. I mean, you want to cut through Navy or go around everything to South Capitol. It's unrecognizable. Absolutely unrecognizable. And they're going to keep it there for. They're going to keep it there for another month.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ramsey. I'm sorry for.
Yeah, they're going to keep it this way for at least another month.
Oh my
at
God.
least. Wow. At least. And remember, I have a friend, and I've discussed it with Ben, who raised my attention to something what's called beta testing. Right? You put the electricity out in a certain area, and you see how long people are willing to withstand that pain. And I sometimes think the past 11 months has been one big, massive beta test to see how long they could actually, put their foots on our throats. This idiot de Blasio says in New York today, people should be wearing 2 masks until June. I mean, and he thinks, and there are New Yorkers, Ben, some that you might know, that are listening to this going, okay, I'll wear 2 masks until June.
Actually, if you're referring to my sisters, I don't think she wears a mask at all.
No, I wasn't referring to your sister, but you do know other people in New York aside from your sister. And there are people that are going to just be listening to this. I'm convinced that this is what they're doing in Washington is a beta test. Now, the real neighborhood they should be doing that is in Chicago. But no, God forbid they would never put barbed wire fences up.
It's called barbed wire, like Barbie.
I know, that's what I said. I said barbed wire. But fences up in Chicago or Baltimore.
Yeah, but they don't do that. They don't do anything that could possibly offend African Americans. That would offend African Americans. That cannot be done. Nothing can be done that in the slightest way offends African Americans, because they are the bedrock of the Democrat Party. That is why. And people are scared of them. And so that makes perfect sense. I've said this over and over again. And I think it's insulting to Black people to assume that they have to be the police dog on the leash of the Democrat Party. I think it's insulting as hell to Black people, but I'm not a Black person, so it's not up to me.
But you and none of us are, but Ken, well, you know what? We are. Kamala Harris could say she is. I am. Okay.
I am too.
I'm
also Spartacus.
Well, why not? I mean, in these days, it's my truth. And
Spartacus.
And Gary, but and Remzo, I bring you. I was talking actually with Ken LaCour, who's is a constant contributor on the show, and he was saying, and we were trying to get predictions, and he said, "I see it ending in 6 months," and I said to him, "I would have thought that 6 months ago." The goalpost.
See what ending in 6 months?
COVID, the restrictions they put on us.
Why ever have it end? Why should they ever have it end?
Yeah.
COVID, so Gary, the lockdowns will go away when the TSA goes away.
When the what does?
When the TSA.
I don't think it's going away. I think that the American public, the smart, hopefully, is going to say enough, and it will slowly, without them having to cause a ruckus, our politicians, the Americans will decide for them, and it will slowly kind of eke its way out, because people are literally, they're at their wits' end. Yeah, I mean, especially in places you guys know, like LA, and some of the more liberal cities, they've crushed small business. There's no more left.
It's true. It's really true. It's very, very, very bad stuff. Very bad stuff.
No, it's absolutely one of the most frightening things. And in Remso, I mean, you live there and you see the barbed wire up there. I mean, do you think it's going to be gone in a month, or are they going to just continue? Why take it down once it's up?
They need it up because they keep needing more photos for their newsletters. And that's the thing.
That's great. Oh, that is really great. Remso, you are smart. Woo,
I try.
Remso's been on fire, Ben.
Remso is on fire. You are on fire, my friend.
I mean, here's the thing, and I'm seeing this with a lot of the people from the Obama administration who are coming back, and this is why I think your champagne socialists in America would offend any Marxist warfighter or insurgent in the other side of the world. I don't think anybody here in this city is actually that ideologically driven. We see a few of them, the AOCs, even her I've got, a few comments about, and all these other people. But here's the thing. People are here in this town because they know they can just get rich real fast, and you don't have to be that smart either. They don't want to create, like a military junta or a communist machine because they like the quirks of capitalism. They just don't like the capitalists. They don't like to go ahead and see people selling things and making money and putting a roof over their head, but they love to buy. It's the mafia in a big way. And I like what Ted Cruz used to say years ago. It's like, it's not just a machine. It's nothing else. That's too impersonal. It's a cartel. And if you don't know how the cartel works, you're not in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm scared now, Remso.
Well, you know what, Ben?
Good.
Ben, he raises a great point. You know what?
A very great point.
And sometimes, and like what Gary's talking about, out of fear could come greatness, and out of fear, and some of the greatest work, some of the greatest stuff came out of being scared and being fearful. And right now is time to start strategizing, time to start planning, time to start doing all those things like Gary and Ben and you preach about. Gary talks about being off the grid, metaphorically living off the grid, living your true self, Ben. It's something we talk about in the 12-step world. Is focusing on the plans, and that's what we should all be doing right now.
Well, what specifically should we do? I would like to say, I think first thing we should do is we should try to be good to one another. We should try to follow the laws that the Christian and Jewish God has laid down for us, and be good to one another. Tell the truth. Don't steal. Let's forget about the adultery one for a moment, and just go on and live as the best people we possibly can be, and then go on to write a lot, write, and eventually, and keep suing, and eventually we will find a judge who has some balls, and we'll get something done. But keep at it. It takes a long time, but it shall be done. I was watching an incredibly interesting documentary last night about World War I, about the founding of the state of Israel. It took a really, really, really long time for the Jews to get Israel. And once they had Israel, everybody was conspiring against them to destroy them. And nevertheless, they prevailed. And now they are one of the major military powers in the world. And it took a long time. Patience, perseverance, in situations that everyone thought was impossible.
What about you, Gary?
Well, it brought something up to me right now when we talk about, finding your own personal freedom and how you want to live. And the problem is we're boxed into these rules, right? These preconceived rules that we didn't create. I didn't create the system in which we're in. I was born into it. Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching. I am a little bit. But where I'm at, I travel and I've moved around a lot. Where I'm at right now, I'm noticing a lot of people camping. So they'll come here and they put up their tent. They're just in a car. They camp, they move on. People riding bikes, going around the country. I meet a lot of interesting people in what I do. And what they're doing is they're exploring. I'm seeing a lot of Americans kind of saying enough. I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it. Long as I'm not harming anyone, long as I'm not hurting anyone, who cares? And that's the thing, is you have to think outside of this kind of perpetual tyranny that we've been put into. And I'm going to go back to what I've always taught: health. The biggest way for the government to control you, the biggest part, is to take away your health. Because once they take away your health, they've got you. Because now you have an inability to think rationally. You feel like crap all the time. You feel like you can't move because you got to be near a hospital. You've got to be part of in a community, with all of your EMS services and everything else. Got to get to your prescription, get to your Dr. Feelgood, because now you're on 15 different psychotropic drugs to make yourself artificially happy. I honestly think if we took back our health in this country, it would eradicate a lot of the problems. And it sounds like very simplistic thinking, but it's rooted in fact, because our healthcare system is a huge, huge part of our economy in this country. And the government runs it.
Very good point. And we all feel more energetic and confident if we feel fairly healthy. As I say, I got my COVID shot yesterday. I've been feeling like I wish I were dead ever since. But I think eventually I will feel better. And I know I swim almost every day, and I always feel better when I do that. And I think of ideas for things to write to make some tiny, tiny, tiny impression. Frank Sinatra has a great, great song of it called High Hopes. And I recommend it to all of you about how little tiny things with enough persistence, can make huge differences.
Absolutely.
And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to the Flosser, Ben Stein. Remzo, can you please tell people where they could find us?
Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a notification when the show goes live or adds new content. And please, go anywhere across Al Gore's amazing internet: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Audible. You know how it works, people. You've all done the Googling before. I know you like to do it when you do research. Leave us a 5-star rating and review so that way we can go ahead and get the show to new audiences, let people know about the fun we're having here, and keep the ball rolling. And if you want more Mr. Ben Stein in your inbox, please go ahead and subscribe to his newsletter, benstein.substack.com. That's benstein.substack.com.
And I also recommend you read The American Spectator.
And of course, welcome back to The World According to Ben Stein. And I want to remind everybody, Parler is back up. Start going there. Start contributing. Don't be scared, because I know some people are, and it's probably not the people listening to the show, but some people are. But on a fun note, I sent the story to Remzo. Ben, I promise you this is the truth. There is a professor from your alma mater from Columbia, who talks about that he uses heroin to keep his life in balance. I'm not kidding about this either.
I would really like to see that story. And Jude, I happen to know that you're standing about 10 feet behind me, so I know you've got it right there. Oh, wait, do you think I can read
Well,
that?
it says Columbia professor. I do heroin regularly for work-life balance.
Well, come here and show it to me.
I'm not going to come there and show it to you, because I'll show it to you afterwards, and we could discuss it. But he also talks about it's real, Ben. We've all read it. He talks about using MDMA.
MDMA?
Which is,
I've never even heard of that.
Oh,
ecstasy.
yeah.
Ecstasy, Ben. It's the from your generation, your favorite. It's the only comparison it's the only thing I could comparably think to the way you describe ludes. Except the side effects are the withdrawals from coming off it are obviously from and it's funny because in it, this is a guy teaching at a school to our children. And I know Gary is a libertarian extraordinaire, but even when Gary saw this story, I know you were like, oh my God.
Well, and for me, because we were laughing because I invited him to be on my podcast like a week ago. I kid you not. And I saw a documentary called Crack, which is on Netflix, and it's outstanding. And he was on it. It's a really good documentary.
What's it called again? Crack?
Crack. Yeah, it's about how crack came about and the epidemic and government. It's really good. we won't get into that.
I would really like to see that story about the teacher on crack. I find that very amazing.
No, he's on heroin, but
On heroin, sorry.
have you guys, I investigated the Dr. Feelgoods. So I remember when oxycodone came on, and I was in the middle of that when I was in the government. I had never taken oxycodone or hydrocodone or anything until I had my back surgery after I got out of the government. So I used to think, how do people, I knew growing up, meth is not recreational. Meth is bad, and so I took it, and I took it for, I told my doctor, I remember going, I don't need it. I'll be totally fine. I made it like 3 hours, and I was shoveling it in. And what happened is, I tapered off after about 10 days, and I had a pretty strong addiction after 10 days. I was on a cocktail. I was on a good one: Valium, hydrocodone, and what was the other one? Oh, there was 3. It was a good cocktail.
I was on Oxy when I got my neck surgery because of a car accident back in December 2018. I could only take it for 7 days because after that I was like, am I really in pain, or do I just want to take this?
No, that's exactly it.
Was it. That was one of those moments where it's like, I had friends who returned from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they were just getting those in like fistfuls. And I'm like, is it really good that they're giving this to you? And they're like, man, you have no idea. That's actually, what's funny? I think I need to thank Oxycodone for the idea for my next book, because about 2 weeks later, I was done with the first draft.
Wow.
Well, it's called hillbilly heroin for no reason. I mean, it is literally pharmaceutical heroin. And I realized just tapering off and getting off it. And when I was on it, I remember you'd take it about every 3 to 4 hours, depending. You would take it, and literally I would sit there and I could feel it kick in. You feel it start to burn. You get nice and warm. And then I'd do this and drill just right out the side, and I just conk out.
You get the most involuntary reactions from that.
Yeah.
Spasms. It's so weird.
What's the bad
so
part?
People watch. I would not recommend heroin as a recreational drug, is what we're trying to say in short.
No, but also the fact that he gets away with it, Ben. He's a professor. He's like us. He's African American. And
wait a
very
minute.
much so.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That part. Up till now, you sort of had me almost believing it, but that he's African American, I don't don't believe that.
Okay, guys, keep talking. Because I'm not going to go through this without show. Guys, keep talking, Ramzan.
I'm going to go ahead and list an a list of grievances. I think we need to put cocaine back in Coca-Cola. Gary, your thoughts?
Oh, I'm in. I'm 100% in.
Dr. Penderton knew what he was doing.
Why they ever took it out? Did you ever watch The History of Food, and they talked about how Coca-Cola was invented? Like, they went through it. Oh my God!
I want that 1880 recipe.
Judith showed me a picture of that professor. It's the most clear systemic racism I've ever seen. That man is not black. He is at most a Moroccan. He is not black. It's just systemic racism that certain people are describing as black. And I see this all the time.
Is Kamala Harris black?
No, today. She is not black, but she claims to be black, but she is not black.
Today.
No, but getting back to it, Ben, this guy, Ben, this is one of your alma maters, and that this guy is teaching and that they're okay with this is absolutely frightening. That we have somebody, forget about all the other crazy ass lessons they teach these kids at Columbia University these days. You had that girl that would walk around with the mattress claiming she was.
That was great. That was great.
Claiming a false story of rape. And you have this guy right now who's never going to get fired for this. But if any one of us...
Wait. Is it not illegal to possess heroin? Of course it is.
It's all right. It's a felony to use it. It's a felony to have it. It's a felony to buy it. There's a bunch of different felonies.
And I imagine it's a felony to be under the influence of it.
Yes, and I would imagine it's not a great thing for a school to have a teacher that's teaching their children while they're on heroin. And
does he teach better with it?
That's more of your systemic racism. Because you cannot imagine that a black man could be intelligent enough to teach a college class unless he was on heroin. This man is not black, and he's obviously very intelligent.
I think Jack Kerouac was a better writer when he was drunk all the time. I mean, I don't know if hey, I'm of the school of thought like it's your body, do what you want with it. But I see this going in a much more dangerous route. I saw this with pot culture growing up in the early 2000s. You'd see celebrities talking about how they get high all the time before any states legalized it for anything. I think we're seeing it with a lot of things. And I think I think it's good because it's going to show people how stupid the war on drugs is. I also think it's bad because we're making it seem like this is something you should be doing all the time. So,
you see, that's the rub. And
so
Ben and I,
you're not supposed to be on heroin, you're teaching, or you are supposed to be?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, my thing is, I think me and Remso agree. The war on drugs is a complete utter farce. But I would like to see things legalized to an extent, but also to educate. You have to know that taking meth and starting a meth addiction is never good. It doesn't go well. Heroin usually doesn't go well. And if you educate people and you give them a proper way to rehab once they're on it, I mean, it's common sense. I firmly
Rehab
believe
doesn't work that well. That's kind of a myth.
Well, it's only a 3% success rate, if even that, right, Ben?
What?
I don't think it works.
How many millions of dollars go into rehab facilities? And you're telling me only 3%?
The recovery rate is super low.
Oh man, I never knew that.
We have super secret alcohol and drug recovery meetings at my very own house. Now I own more than one house, so the FBI is going to have to do some looking to find the house. So we find we do get incredibly good cure rates because we pray, we turn our lives over to God. Let's talk about that for a minute. What is wrong with America for turning away from God? All of our problems stem from turning away from God. That's just so basic, it's unbelievable.
Well, you need fundamental beliefs. You need to believe in a cause, and you need to believe in. I'm not a deeply religious guy. I use the cop out. I'm a spiritual guy. I just don't believe in organized religion because all bureaucracies tend to turn bad. That's how I look at it. Because
give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It was good enough for Moses. It was good enough for Moses. It was good enough for Moses. And it's good enough for me.
Ben, would you agree with this? I'll ask you this. If I always say, though, even though I don't go to church and all that, but I'm a very spiritual guy. I believe in a higher being. I just don't know what it is. If the worst thing you can do is go to a church, pray, and believe and do the right things, that's the worst thing you do. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And I will add something else, which is you can never waste your time praying. There's no such thing as wasting your time praying.
I'll agree with you there. I'll totally agree with you. Because it's a form of meditation too. It's a form of meditation.
Prayer is my whole life. I used to say that it was a good part of my life. Now it's my whole life.
And it's always a good thing to look at things that people scoff at. Always look at those things that people scoff at and say, why are they scoffing at something? At something like that. And Ben brought up the other night how, and this is a true story, when Bill Wilson was writing the 12 steps, in the 12 step, it says to other alcoholics, he wanted to write to others because he thought he had found he thought he found the cure for society if everybody would just work the 12 steps. And because they were so small at that point, and it was just a couple people, the founding member, Dr. Bob said, we have to keep our primary purpose and keep it to alcohol.
Keep it simple, stupid.
And Bill Wilson was recognized by, a lot of people, by Time Magazine as one of the most influential, and helpful people of the last century, who has saved countless thousands of lives. But anyways, getting back to it, Ben, it is a true story. I'm happy you read it. We didn't have to, you think it wasn't a true story. We are running out of time, but I just want to bring up one more quick story, guys. There is another story, Ben. There's a woman. She considers herself a Black Latina.
Well,
she was fired she's suing New York City school system because when they would have business meetings, I had never seen Black Panther, the movie, but apparently they did this symbol of Waka Waka or Waka Nana or whatever. Wakanda. And a fictional thing she wouldn't do. and she was fired. And she was fired for not doing it. She's suing the New York City school system for $40 million. I think she should be suing for $400 billion. And it's pure insanity that you have people out there that are forcing that are proselytizing the craziest things right now.
The Wall Street Journal had a story yesterday about how the Coca-Cola company is making its employees swear to try to be less white. Can you believe anything that stupid is happening in America?
This is why we need to put cocaine back in Coke.
I think you circled the life Simba perfectly on that note, Remzo. We are running out of time, but Ben, it is insane. It is. We are in uncharted Looneyville right now.
Not uncharted. Oh,
I got to tell you, sometimes I'm scared to speak because I'm Mrs. Levin over there, who's my high school
English teacher. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Thank you, Ben Stein. Remzo, before we close one more time.
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, everywhere. And to make it easy for you, just subscribe to our newsletter, benstein.substack.com. That's benstein.substack.com, your one source for everything you need.
And we stream on almost every platform or podcast. So if you hate Apple or you hate one of the other ones, we're on some sort of friendly one. There's one of them that you can't hate on. Gary Collins, how do people find you?
thesimplelifenow.com. My podcast is there, Your Better Life. And all of Remzo's been a guest. All of you will be a guest on my show at some point. And make sure to go check that out. All my books and all my stuff is all there. So,
and of course, and it's a great site. Listen to Gary. Like I said the other night, men love him, women want to be with him, and men. And of course, you could find Ben Stein on Parler at Ben Stein at spectator.org. I please tell everybody to go there and read his amazing articles. I want to thank everybody that's been listening and contributing to the pod room. Oh, but one more thing, Rock Breath. I want to thank you so much for handling the We Me fan club, the MeWe or We Me, which one is it? And also our
We Me doesn't talk to MeWe much. They had a falling out.
And also the World According to Ben Stein page on Parler Rock. Thank you. You are a rock. And I want to thank everybody. And God bless this great country. God bless you all. And God bless America. Have a great night, everybody.
God bless America. She's real fine, my 409. Well,